Reese wiped down the bar for the 1,000th time, the same old country tune crackling through ancient speakers. The scorching Arizona sun beat down outside, matching the worn wood and faded neon signs of the dusty cactus. He'd memorized every crack in the bar top, every regular's usual order, every second of this mind-numbing routine. "Hey, Reese, another round," a gruff voice called from the end of the bar. Reese nodded, grabbing a pitcher. "Coming right up, Earl." As he filled the glasses, his eyes drifted to the small TV in the corner. A news anchor droned on about a new space telescope. For a moment, Reese let himself imagine what it'd be like up there among the stars. Anywhere but here on Earth. "Reese!" Earl's voice snapped him back. "You gonna serve those beers or just stare at them all night?" Reese forced a smile, delivering the drinks. "Sorry, got lost in thought." "Careful with that," Earl chuckled. "Might hurt yourself." The night dragged on, a blur of poured drinks and half-hearted small talk. As he locked up, Reese's gaze drifted to the star-filled sky. He sighed, climbing into his beat-up truck for the long drive home. Miles of empty desert stretched before him, illuminated only by his headlights and the moon above. The monotony was broken by a flash of blue in his peripheral vision. Reese slammed on the brakes, skidding to a stop. There, stumbling along the roadside, was the most captivating woman he'd ever seen. Her skin was a deep, mesmerizing azure, complemented by flowing silver hair. She wore an iridescent bodysuit that shimmered in the moonlight. Reese blinked hard, certain he must be hallucinating. But when he opened his eyes, she was still there, now staring at him with piercing eyes that seemed to glow. He rolled down the window. Ma'am, are you okay?" The woman approached cautiously. "You are of this world, yes? I require assistance." Her voice had a musical quality, with an accent he couldn't place. Reese's mind reeled, struggling to process what he was seeing. "I'm from around here, yeah," he managed. "Do you need a ride or something?" She nodded emphatically. "Yes, transport would be most beneficial. I must reach a secure location with haste." Reese hesitated. Every instinct told him this was insane, but he couldn't just leave her out here. He unlocked the passenger door. "Hop in." As she settled into the seat, Reese caught a whiff of an otherworldly scent, like ozone and exotic flowers. He gripped the steering wheel, trying to focus on the road. "So, I'm Reese. And you are?" "I am called Ara," she replied. "I thank you for your assistance, Reese of Earth." "Reese of Earth," he echoed with a nervous chuckle. "That's a new one. So, Ara, not to be rude, but what's with the, He gestured vaguely at her blue skin. Ara tilted her head. "Ah, you refer to my dermal pigmentation. I forget it differs from your species. I am not of your world, Reese. I come from a planet called Eternia." Reese nearly swerved off the road. "I'm sorry, did you say planet? As in outer space?" "Precisely," Ara confirmed. "I have traveled a great distance to escape a grave threat. I must find sanctuary here." Reese's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Okay, so you're an alien. A blue alien who needs to hide out on Earth. This is fine. Totally normal Thursday night." Ara's brow furrowed. "You seem distressed. Is interplanetary contact not common here?" Reese barked out a laugh. "Not exactly, no. We're still arguing if aliens exist at all." "How curious," Ara mused. "Your civilization is more isolated than I realized." They drove in silence for a moment, Reese's mind racing. Finally, he asked, "So, what's this grave threat you're running from?" Ara's expression darkened. "A tyrant named Zork from the planet Kronos. I was to be forced into a political marriage with him to seal an unjust treaty. I fled rather than submit to such a fate." Reese whistled low. "Wow, that's heavy. So what's your plan now?" Ara hesitated. "I had not thought beyond escape. I require a place of concealment and assistance in adapting to your world. They were nearing Tucson now, the lights of the city appearing on the horizon. Reese drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, weighing his options. This was crazy, beyond crazy, but something in Ara's eyes, a mix of determination and vulnerability, tugged at him. "Look," he said slowly, "I've got a spare room. It's not much, but you're welcome to crash there while you figure things out." Ara's face lit up. "Truly, you would offer such kindness to a stranger?" Reese shrugged, trying to play it cool. "Well, can't exactly leave a space princess on the street, can I?" "I am in your debt, Reese of Earth," Ara said solemnly. Then her eyes widened. "But wait, will this not draw suspicion? An unmarried male and female cohabitating? Hey, it's the 21st century. People don't care that much anymore." Ara nodded thoughtfully. "I see. Still, to better avoid detection, perhaps we should present ourselves as a mated pair." Reese nearly choked. "You mean like married? Is that not the Earth term?" "Yes. We could claim to be newlywed. It would explain my unfamiliarity with local customs." Reese's mind reeled at the absurdity of it all. Here he was, concocting a fake marriage with an honest-to-God alien princess. It was like something out of a bad sci-fi novel. And yet a part of him thrilled at the idea. After years of monotony, his life had suddenly become the adventure he'd always dreamed of. "You know what?" He grinned. "Why the hell not? Let's do it." As they entered the city limits, Reese glanced at Ara. "We should probably get you some clothes that blend in a bit more, and maybe a hat or something to cover your hair." Ara nodded. "Yes, camouflage would be wise. Though I admit, I find Earth fashions rather perplexing. Why do you insist on covering so much of your bodies?" Reese chuckled. "Trust me, with some of the people around here, you should be glad for that custom." They stopped at an all-night convenience store. Reese grabbed a hoodie, sweatpants, and a baseball cap, tossing them to Ara. "Here, try these on in the bathroom. I'll grab some other supplies." When Ara emerged, Reese had to stifle a laugh. The clothes were comically oversized on her slender frame, and she'd put the hat on backwards, but at least the blue skin was mostly covered. "How do I appear?" Ara asked, attempting to strike a casual pose. "Do I blend seamlessly with your populace?" Reese grinned. "You look like a college kid who raided their dad's closet. It's perfect." As they approached the checkout, the bored cashier barely glanced up from his phone. Reese breathed a sigh of relief until Ara spoke. "Greetings, fellow Earth dweller," she announced. "We require these goods for completely normal, non-suspicious purposes." The cashier blinked slowly, looking between them. Reese jumped in. "Don't mind her. She's, doing a theater thing. Method acting, you know." "Whatever, man," the cashier mumbled, ringing them up. Back in the truck, Reese turned to Ara. "Okay, first lesson in blending in. Less is more. Just act natural." Ara nodded seriously. "I shall endeavor to be more chill." Reese couldn't help but laugh. "Well, it's a start." As they pulled up to his small house on the outskirts of town, reality began to sink in. He was harboring an alien fugitive. If anyone found out... "Hey, Ara," he said softly. "You know this is pretty risky for me too, right? If the wrong people discover you're here..." Ara placed a hand on his arm, sending a jolt through him. "I understand the danger I place you in, Reese. I swear by the moons of Eternia, I will do all in my power to protect you as you have protected me." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Reese forgot how to breathe. There was something in Ara's gaze, ancient wisdom mixed with childlike wonder, that captivated him completely. He cleared his throat. "Right, well, let's get you inside before the neighbors start gossiping about the weirdo in a hoodie on my porch." As they entered the house, Ara's eyes darted everywhere, taking in every detail. "Fascinating. Your dwelling is so quaint." Reese raised an eyebrow. "Quaint?" Oh, I meant no offense, Ara backpedaled. It's simply quite different from the crystal spires of Eternia, but I find it most charming. Reese chuckled. Well, it's no crystal spire, but it's home. Come on, I'll show you to the spare room. As he gave her a quick tour, Ara peppered him with questions about every mundane object. The microwave was a primitive matter reconfiguration device, the TV a rudimentary data projection system. By the time they reached the bedroom, Reese's head was spinning. And this, he said, gesturing to the bed, is where you sleep. You do sleep, right? Ara nodded. Yes, though our sleep cycles differ. On Eternia, we require only 2 hours of rest per solar rotation. Must be nice, Reese yawned. Well, I need a full 8 hours, so I'm going to crash. We can figure out our next move in the morning. As he turned to leave, Ara caught his hand. Reese, thank you. Truly, I know not what would have become of me without your aid. Reese felt his face flush. Hey, what are fake husbands for, right? Ara's musical laugh followed him as he retreated to his room. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, Reese tried to process the insanity of the past few hours. His life had changed irrevocably, and he had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But as he drifted off to sleep, one thought kept circling in his mind. Whatever happens, it's going to be one hell of an adventure. Reese awoke to the sound of clattering in the kitchen. Groggy, he stumbled out of bed and found Ara examining his toaster with intense fascination. Ara, what are you doing? Reese asked, rubbing his eyes. Exploring your culinary devices, she replied brightly. This one seems designed to carbonize bread slices. Ingenious. Reese chuckled. It's just a toaster. Here, let me show you. As he demonstrated, Ara peppered him with questions about Earth's breakfast customs, her enthusiasm infectious. Reese found himself grinning as he scrambled eggs and brewed coffee. What's the plan? Reese asked. We should probably get you some proper clothes first. Ara nodded. Yes, and I must find a way to contact my allies on Eternia. They spent the morning at a thrift store with Reese steering Ara toward inconspicuous outfits. She gravitated toward colorful, outlandish items, delighting in each discovery. Ooh, what about this? She asked, emerging in a neon green jumpsuit and cowboy hat. Reese stifled a laugh. Maybe something more subtle. Eventually, they settled on simple dresses, jeans, and t-shirts. Ara insisted on keeping the cowboy hat. As they walked back to the truck, Reese noticed a sleek black car parked across the street. 2 men in dark suits watched them intently. Ara, he muttered. I think we're being watched. Ara's posture stiffened. Describe them. Men in black types, sunglasses, earpieces. They could be Chronosian agents. We must leave immediately. They quickened their pace, climbing into the truck. As Reese pulled away, the black car started its engine. They're following us, Reese said, gripping the wheel. Take evasive action, Ara commanded. Reese weaved through traffic, taking sharp turns. The black car stayed on their tail, gaining ground. Any ideas? Reese asked. Your phone, can it interface with the city's infrastructure? My phone, I guess. Why? Hand it to me. Ara's fingers flew across the screen. Suddenly, every traffic light ahead turned green, while red lights stopped their pursuers. Holy, how did you... I optimized your traffic control algorithms. Head for the outskirts of the city. They ended up at an abandoned gas station miles from town. As the dust settled, Reese turned to Ara. Okay, what exactly is going on? Ara sighed. My home world, Eternia, is in danger. I fled to avoid a forced marriage to Zork, a tyrant from Kronos. He plans to use me to invade Eternia. Jesus, and now his goons are after you. Ara nodded. We must contact my allies and warn them of Zork's treachery. Reese ran a hand through his hair. Okay, but how? We don't have intergalactic cell service. A sly smile played on Ara's lips. We can repurpose your planet's communication arrays. And so began a whirlwind tour of radio telescopes and satellite stations across the Southwest. At each stop, Ara boosted signals to send encoded messages to Eternia. Rhys watched in awe as she effortlessly hacked systems. "You know," he said one night, "you're probably the most brilliant person I've ever met." Ara's cheeks flushed. "You flatter me, Rhys. On my world, such skills are basic." "Well, here, you're practically a superhero." He grinned. "Alien princess by day, tech genius by night." She laughed. "And what does that make you?" "Faithful companion? Sidekick, I guess." Ara's expression softened. "You sell yourself short. Your kindness and courage are rare qualities in any galaxy." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the vast differences between them seemed to fade away. Rhys's heart raced as Ara leaned closer. A distant engine roar shattered the moment. Headlights appeared on the horizon. "Damn it!" Rhys cursed. "How do they keep finding us?" They scrambled to pack up camp, peeling out just as the black cars crested the hill. Narrow escapes and close calls became the norm. In a dingy motel, Ara finally made contact with her allies. When she finished, her expression was grim. "Zork is moving up his timetable. He's amassing his fleet. We have days, perhaps a week." Rhys's heart sank. "We need to get you home." Ara took his hand. "Come with me." "What?" "Come with me to Eternia. Your knowledge could be invaluable." Rhys imagined it, exploring alien worlds, being part of something greater. Then reality hit. "I can't. My life is here." "Pouring drinks for ungrateful patrons?" Ara challenged. "You were meant for so much more." Before he could respond, the motel door burst open. Men in black tactical gear swarmed in. "Ara of Eternia, by order of Lord Zork, you are to be returned to Kronos immediately." Rhys moved instinctively, putting himself between Ara and the intruders. "Like hell she is!" Ara's hand shot out, sending the attackers flying. She grabbed Rhys's arm, pulling him towards the window. "Jump!" she yelled. They crashed through the glass, tumbling onto the roof of Rhys's truck. Somehow he managed to slide into the driver's seat, gunning the engine as more figures poured out of the motel. As they roared down the highway, Rhys glanced at Ara, determination etched on her face. "Okay," he said. Ara turned, confused. "Okay, what?" Rhys grinned. "Okay, I'll go to Eternia with you, assuming we survive the next few minutes." Her smile was brighter than any star. As laser blasts lit up the night behind them, Rhys felt a wild surge of exhilaration. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Rhys and Ara drove through the night, dodging their pursuers. Eventually, they reached an abandoned gas station. Exhausted, they decided to rest and plan their next move. "Ara, how are we going to get to Eternia?" Rhys asked, leaning against the truck. "There's a hidden portal on Earth that connects to Eternia," Ara replied. "My allies sent the coordinates, but it's heavily guarded." Rhys sighed. "Of course it is. So we need a plan to get past the guards and use the portal." Ara nodded. "Exactly. We'll have to be stealthy and quick. Can you handle that?" Rhys grinned. "Stealthy and quick are my middle names." The next morning, they set out for the portal's location, deep in the desert. As they approached, Rhys spotted several guards patrolling the area. "Okay, here's the plan," Ara whispered. "We create a distraction, slip past the guards, and activate the portal." Rhys nodded, feeling the adrenaline surge. "Got it. Let's do this." Ara used her device to trigger a series of small explosions on the opposite side of the portal area. As the guards rushed to investigate, Rhys and Ara sprinted toward the portal. They reached the portal, and Ara quickly activated it. A shimmering gateway appeared, and they stepped through, leaving Earth behind. On the other side, they were greeted by a lush alien landscape. Crystal spires towered above them, and strange, luminescent plants lined the path. "Welcome to Eternia," Ara said softly, taking Rhys's hand. Reese looked around in awe. Wow, it's beautiful. Ara smiled. We're not safe yet. We need to reach my allies and stop Zork. They hurried to a hidden base where Ara's allies welcomed them. Plans were quickly made to disable Zork's flagship and prevent the invasion. As they prepared for the mission, Reese looked at Ara. You know, this is crazy, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Ara squeezed his hand. Neither would I, Reese of Earth. Let's save our worlds together. Reese nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Together. Reese and Ara, along with a small team of resistance fighters, infiltrated Zork's flagship under the cover of darkness. Their mission: disable the ship's shields and leave it vulnerable to attack. Navigating through narrow corridors, they encountered minimal resistance until they reached the control room. Reese and Ara worked quickly, planting the device to disable the shields. Alarms blared as they activated the device. "We need to get out of here now!" Reese shouted. They fought their way back to their shuttle, the ship's defenses closing in. Just as they boarded and took off, the flagship's shields went down, and the resistance fleet moved in. From the safety of their shuttle, they watched as the flagship exploded in a brilliant burst of light. Ara turned to Reese, her eyes shining with gratitude. "We did it," she said, a smile spreading across her face. Reese grinned, pulling her into a hug. "Yeah, we did." Back on Eternia, they were hailed as heroes. Reese was made an honorary Eternian, and the bond between their worlds strengthened. As they stood together under the alien sky, Reese looked at Ara. "So, what's next?" Ara smiled, her eyes filled with promise. "Now we rebuild. Together." Reese nodded, feeling a deep sense of belonging. "Together," he echoed, ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. Subscribe to watch more amazing sci-fi stories.